beloved Mario characters appearing on the cover and title screen made me think that I loved this game for 7 years. Unlike most games that I spent a lot of time coming back to because I sincerely loved, this one I spent a lot of time on because of all the different Mario characters, making me think I loved this game when deep down inside I actually hated it, and didn't even want to admit it to anyone, not even myself. So for wasting 7 years of my life before I finally admitted to myself that I hate it, I'm going to give this 7 cents. This game thinks that no one will notice that they ripped off the Amazon theme from the DuckTales game. Though I gotta say, as much as I hate this game, unlike in most games I play where it takes between 18 seconds to a minute in order to actually get to where you want, all you have to sit through is the GBA logo, then hit the buttons on the title screen, select the game you want, and there you go. You're where you want in 10 seconds. So, I'm going to regret this, but this is worthy of a sin subtraction. It's not a good sign when the little mini-movies are more entertaining than the games themselves. The structure bounces whoever lands on it, but then when the characters land on the same structure, they stick to it. Now this game is just switching physics. The structure disappears into thin air. Yeah, just walk away from the falling bob-ombs instead of running like a normal person would. You have to get 1,000 points in the games in order to get full credit, which takes forever. Time for a 3-cent addition. These games have like 12-bit music and sound effects and no voice acting. Also, the majority of these games here are mostly you just standing in a few spots and hitting a button, which I can definitely understand was supposed to appeal to the fans of the old Game & Watch games, but this still gets repetitive for me, so I'm going to add 1 cent for each game that has no more than 4 spots to stand in. So we have this one, Boxing, Rain Shower, Donkey Kong 3, Chef, Fire Attack, Manhole, Tropical Fish, and Parachute. There are way too many stop things from falling on the ground minigames here. I'm going to send each one when we get to them. We could only get 2 people with stretchers. An entire castle is on fire, so why can't we get more? I can understand there being multiple Toads because the RPGs established the fact that there are multiple, and the fact that there are multiple Yoshis since games have established that there are not only more than one, but also multiple green ones. But why are there multiple Donkey Kong Jr.'s? Also, doesn't Mario hate Donkey Kong Jr.? I know you don't want someone to get hurt even if they are your enemy, but that didn't stop Mario from murdering Goombas and Koopas in his adventures. It's always been weird that Bob-ombs love to kill themselves just to hurt you. The guy who made Mary Poppins' bag quit his job and moved to the Mushroom Kingdom, where he got a job of making carriages. How long can these guys stay in the castle full of fumes that can suffocate you? Do they have the lung capacity of Mario in the normal Mario games? You mean to tell me these guys have to do this all day and all night? And I thought SpongeBob and Squidward were overworked. Also, these firefighters should have been here hours ago. The castle should have burned down by now. Also, since the castle won't burn to the ground and the flames don't suffocate anyone, I guess there's no real danger after all. Oh, you thought this was boring enough? Well, at least I did, but the footage I showed you was the modern version. The classic versions get even duller. At least the modern versions had some interesting mechanics to make them not as boring. I really like the sprite shadows here, but they didn't put one in for having the Mr. Game & Watches running away after they're dropped. In the hard mode, some people jump from the 4th and 3rd floors instead of just the 4th. I guess that's a good way to ramp up the difficulty, but it makes me wonder why no one is going out the 1st and 2nd floors. Waluigi Bowling. The first game here that I actually enjoyed, and okay, that's not saying much because this is only the 2nd game. But it has to be over very quickly because of how quickly you get stars here. Also, the fact that you get 1 star for every 3 victories made me think that the same formula works in Donkey Kong 3, and the stars are gotten in different ways in these games, like getting moons in Fire and Rain Shower, beating 3 levels in Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Jr., and getting trucks in Mario Brothers, when you actually get 1 star for every 200 points. Unlike most Wigglers, this one snaps back to happy almost instantly. The other Mario games made it clear that boos cover their face and don't move when you face them, yet Luigi is facing them the whole time and these boos are unfazed. This boo is a jerk to his kid. When has Waluigi ever worn gray? Are you sure these guys are boxing? Because the graphical limitations make it look like they're playing dodgeball. The other mode of this game is multiplayer only. I wouldn't mind that, but barely anyone owns this game, so there's no one to play with. But that's good because less people have to waste their life on this. Still setting it though. It takes so much longer to get points in Classic than it does in Modern. The clothesline mysteriously disappears after Waluigi is hit by the spike ball. Mario is once again helping Donkey Kong Jr. even though he hates him. There's no way this tree should be able to support Bowser's weight. It sure was nice of Bowser to label the water balloons so that Mario could tell where they are being thrown. These are the slowest falling water balloons I've ever seen. Also, can't he breathe fire? I thought that it was crazy having to work all day and all night, but seeing that Mario has to do this literally all year long and only stopping for a few seconds to hit this P-switch, that's just terrible. Cool scenery change though. Also, none of these lazy jerks suffer from bone loss or die of starvation. Also, they don't freeze to death in the winter. I could maybe forgive Mario helping Donkey Kong Jr., but to help Wario? Wario is one of Mario's mortal enemies! Also, we never hear Wario's name once throughout this whole Game & Watch gallery except for in the credits. Even Waluigi had his name mentioned in the instructions for multiplayer boxing. As a matter of fact, the only reason I even knew Wario's name when I played this was because I happened to see copies of Wario Land 4 on store shelves when I was shopping for this game. Also, this game made me think for 2 years that Wario was a good guy. Instead of using the creative different ways they used to have all the other characters come on screen, they got lazy and had Yoshi and Luigi both enter the same way by getting dropped off by Lakitus. I think they should have had Luigi use some sort of super jump to get up there, or Yoshi could have flown in with his helicopter form from Yoshi's Island. See? Even I have better ideas. That's just plain sad. Also, where is Daisy? She doesn't appear in any of these Game & Watch games. Maybe she should be here instead of Wario because Mario saving her would make a lot more sense. On hard mode, Waluigi will try to tug at your line to mess you up. But he and Wario are both on the same side, so wouldn't you want to keep Wario safe? Did Wario put a worm in Waluigi's soup and now Waluigi wants to get back at him for it? I don't know what time period the classic version takes place in, but if it takes place anywhere after 1938, Mr. Game & Watch should have a clothes dryer. Also, in this pose, he looks like he has pigtails. This rain falls about as fast as a feather. He could just pull his laundry by the lines and avoid this whole crisis. Considering this is Yoshi we're talking about, I'm surprised that he's actually doing his job and not eating the cookie dough. This boo has the strength to effortlessly lift a huge glob of cookie dough. This good-for-nothing factory only has one employee working every single container. This deceivingly awesome music track made me think that Mario Cement Factory was my favorite minigame here, even though it's actually the worst of them all because most of it just involves sitting around waiting for more cookie dough to come. 3 cents added. It's made even worse by the fact that most points you can get at once is 2 in this game, where 1,000 points is the amount you need in order to get full credit. 3 more cents added. Whoever built this place doesn't care at all for employee safety, considering how easy it is to fall here if you aren't careful. What's the point of these boos? You don't get any points for sending them through the machine, and it's too easy to see them, so their hiding trick serves no point other than to make this minigame even more long and boring. How did I die? There was a platform right below me. Instead of running, Donkey Kong just walks after Mario. And despite walking while Mario was running, he still somehow managed to catch Mario. Mario is in a place where Donkey Kong Jr. can't reach him, yet he throws it to an area where he can. Donkey Kong looks so stupid the way he's clenching his teeth like this. Even though this is one of the few Game & Watch games I like, it boggles my mind that Mario is using Goombas, Nipper Plants, and bullet bills, even though he hates them more than he hates Donkey Kong Jr. Fruit can fall through platforms. Well, that destroys the purpose of saving him if Mario would just kidnap him 2 seconds later. Also, Mario has the strength to effortlessly carry an 800-pound gorilla and can fly now. The manual tells you that you can jump on Nipper Plants even though you can't. That actually makes me angry. For giving false gameplay tips that can cause people to lose, that's worth 3 cents. This last level looks nice, but it's mostly a reskin of the first one. The game supports to lie that it's physically possible to stand on clouds. Donkey Kong looks like Donkey Kong Jr.'s mom in the classic version. How is Mario able to command these snapjaws without them eating him? Who puts a key right next to the cage you need to use it on? That's about as useful as not locking the cage at all. Wow, great sprite work on the bubble, taking an ordinary sized one and extending it. Looks like Stanley was absent and so Mario had to take over. Game & Watch Gallery 4 was the main reason why I used to think that Donkey Kong was evil. For 5 years I went around telling people that Donkey Kong was stupid and using him as my punching bag in Melee, only to find out that it wasn't Donkey Kong's doing, but actually Cranky Kong. My guilt still haunts me to this day, and it's worth 5 cents. These bubbles travel in a perfectly straight line instead of floating up or down like real bubbles would. Also, since Taboo is everything better than the fireball, there's no real purpose in having the fireball here. Spray brackets. This is another game that is partially multiplayer and makes you miss out on 10 stars if you have no one to play with, which you likely won't. Seeing Mario and Mr. Game & Watch on the same screen reminds me of how much I'd rather be playing Smash Brothers. Also, Mr. Game & Watch can talk now instead of making those beeping sounds. So, is this food just falling from the sky? I think this game predicted clouding with a chance of meatballs 7 years before that movie came out. These fried eggs are huge. Yoshi couldn't eat a big blob of cookie dough bigger than him, but he can eat this much eggs in one bite without choking to death. And he proved 12 years later in Yoshi's New Island that he can eat giant Shy Guys that are 4 times his size. Stops them from falling on the ground, game number 2. Mario and Luigi are just throwing food into the kitchen hoping that Peach will catch it in her frying pan. What a waste of food. Also, they pull this food right out of nowhere. Yoshi doesn't even eat the food, it just disappears into thin air right before he flicks his tongue out. I know this is a nitpick, but it's surprisingly noticeable, and since this is a shorter game, I feel like looking harder for Sins to make up for that. Just like nearly every game Yoshi appears in, all Yoshis lay eggs no matter what gender. I want you to think about this. Yoshis can grow up and then lay eggs within the span of 2 minutes. That's actually very disturbing. Wow, I never knew that eating overcooked food could turn you back into a baby. I wish it was this easy in real life to stay young forever. This outside restaurant has no customers. This is the only minigame in the game that's fun in the modern version, but boring in the classic one. What's the point of this cat being here? He's not eating the food, he just sticks his fork on the food but then lets go of it. What's the point of having this food at all? You're not serving it to anyone, you're just flipping it until it falls. Guess the frying pans are also the reason for this food's black color in addition to the Game & Watch limitations. Because you could feed the food to this Yoshi in the modern version, this game made me think that if you fed it to the rat in the classic mode then I would get more points, only for that to count as a miss mark. I know that sounds like my own fault, and it's common knowledge that rats in the kitchen are very, very bad for restaurant business, but not all kids will know that. It's really weird seeing Mario finish Mr. Game & Watch's sentence like this. Okay, so now they're having Wario as a bad guy like he's intended. Pick a side for him, Nintendo! Also, the truck can support the weight of Bowser wiping his butt on their freshly cleaned car. Also, Bowser looks really stupid like this. He also looks stupid the way he's stomping at the top like this. Stop things from falling on the ground, minigame 3. Wario looks like he's going to do something evil with this truck, and yet we're supposed to see it as a good thing. Wario manages to deliver this truck very quickly, because a few seconds after it's delivered, it comes back with nothing on it. What's the point of having the boxes go in reverse? It doesn't give you any points, and it takes seconds to stop it. Okay, I understand bosses needing to call out their employees whenever they do something wrong, but grabbing them by the head and forcing their heads down like this? That's just straight up employee abuse. And if it's supposed to be like that, then I'm setting it for abusive boss cliche. Hooray! The barrel crashed into Donkey Kong and mildly annoyed him! Not only do Koopas not throw up from spinning in their shells, they don't throw up from being inside rolling barrels either. It's possible to enter this pipe while barrels are going through the other end of it, and yet end up unharmed. Also, even when you jump on the Koopas by jumping off the pipe, this still counts as you bumping them. Wow, Pauline, you sure look different. You almost look like Peach. Why does Mario need to go into this room 4 times? Does he keep hitting a switch, then going back to the beginning of the course and thinking, oops, I forgot I was supposed to hit it 4 times, and then go through the course again but repeat the same mistake? I love the different designs of this, but they have the same layout. Did Mario just come out of that fire? What are these moving ceiling tile things supposed to be? Yeah, I'm pretty sure Donkey Kong suffered some brain trauma here. The way Mario asks if you don't want that treasure makes him sound like one of those villains in media that tempt characters into doing things they're not supposed to do. What octopus could be this big that its tentacles are straight when surrounding Mario? It can't be the octopus that attacks you in this game, because even that octopus isn't that big. Like a 2X Machina. Now that Mario is saved, the octopus doesn't make any attempts to grab Mario back. Mario stupidly drops the treasure that he worked so hard to get. What reason did he have for that? The octopus was no longer chasing him, and the treasure wasn't weighing him down. But whatever teaches that your life is more important than treasure moral, I guess, even though it's been taught millions of other times in media. Also, since when does a game about risking your life over sunken treasure care about teaching a moral about how life is more important? The octopus goes after Mario, but doesn't think to attack the boat. From the looks of it, it looks like it can reach the boat. Albeit just barely, but it looks like he can reach just far enough to flip it over. Especially if it simply just pulls it in by the rope that Mario uses. It would be even more possible if it had just gotten off its butt and actually chased Mario, but instead it just decides to make things fair for him. This octopus makes a really disturbing face whenever it grabs Mario. Nice Game Boy Advance! I wonder how they're going to get it to work after it's been soaked in the water, let alone for this long. Interesting how this octopus can change color, but the only times they do that is if they want to hide, except I can still see it. For some reason, Mr. Game & Watch just puts the treasure on the boat, then takes it back out and then puts it back. This suffers from Pac-Man syndrome, where if you're stuck between the tentacles, it's highly unlikely there's any possible way to get free. No matter what tentacle the octopus grabs you with, you always end up in the same tentacle. Wario doesn't hear whatever sounds his Babam is making when it comes up behind him. In the actual Mario games, it's strange enough that bullet bills have the name Bullet in their names, even though they don't go nearly as fast as bullets. It's even weirder here because at least them they still move somewhat fast, while even on the hardest difficulties, they fly like they're being launched through a big blob of clay. Chickens disappear into thin air. Game decides, let's let Wario eat an apple. It'll, ha ha ha, did you really think I would say that? If I said that, then I'd be the real jerk here for being offensive to people who like apples. The real sin is how Wario eats it really quickly without choking. Also, since you're playing as Wario, those apples should have been replaced with garlic. This is a nice touch of having the scenery change when you get a miss mark to show the damage caused by the bombs and bullet bills, but leaves me wondering how the building gets damaged but not the structure that Wario is standing on. Even if you get game over, the structure is still up. Also, Wario is seen getting knocked off it, but manages to teleport back up it within seconds. These Mr. Game & Watches look back when they enter the screen as if they're like, haha, I have a torch and you don't. I doubt they'd be able to throw the torches that far. Mario and Mr. Game & Watch must have forgotten to explain Manhole to us because they were too busy talking about the museum, which mind you is still big news, though not as exciting as you'd think. Which brings us to our next sin. When I was a kid, I was excited to unlock the museum games because they looked interesting, but when I finally unlocked them, they were still boring. Again, we have to stop stuff from falling on the ground. Number 4. Mr. Game & Watch only has one manhole cap instead of having 4, which could save him all the trouble. Why do all of these guys look so cranky? For some reason, these people feel happy when they step on the manhole platforms as if they actually feel it. Also, I doubt you'd be able to support their weight with this manhole cap. Plus, why are there streets above sewers above more streets above more sewers? And why can't these guys, I don't know, watch where they're going? Again, we have to stop stuff from falling on the ground. Number 5. I won't question these fish being stupid enough to jump out of the tanks because some are like that in real life, but if this guy had tops to the fish tanks, he wouldn't have to stand here all day. Also, he can move much faster than fish can jump. He looks so much like a character from a Captain Underpants book. This person is secretly a vampire because the mirror in the background doesn't show his reflection. These spots on the floor are wet just as logic should dictate considering the fishbowl and water. But the spot in the middle is completely dry. Darn it, game, I thought you had gotten logic right for once. Full color in Mario's Bombs Away made me think this game would be more fun than the others, except it isn't. Especially for a game that's apparently rare. The game feels the need to give us a demonstration of what happens when your bomb gets lit no matter how many times you play the game. Whenever Mario's bomb is lit, instead of throwing it at the enemies, he does something really stupid and runs back to the base with the bomb in his hand. Also, it seems kinda weird to see Mario wearing green, even if it is because he's in the army. Drug usage in a Nintendo game. Also, why is one of your friends one of the people who can light your bomb and make it blow up? All these bombs go off at the same time. Also, this was where I lost interest in Game & Watch Gallery 4. And before you people say, what? You haven't played the whole game? You are in no position to judge it. The museum games aren't as big as the main 11 games in here. Wow, Mario and Mr. Game & Watch only have one sentence each about this game. Almost as if they want to be done with this game as fast as I do. Game we need to stop something from falling on the ground. Number 6. Why do these guys need to parachute into the ocean hoping that someone will rescue them? The helicopter looks perfectly fine, so there's no reason to jump out of it. Also, this water is surrounded by 2 islands. Why can't they just land there? And Mr. Game & Watches completely disappear when they land on the lifeboat. Yep, someone actually got murdered in a Nintendo game. This 2-screen Game & Watch system reminds me of how much better the DS is than this. You get points a lot faster in this game than you do in most Game & Watch games. Showing this guy on the top of the screen is a complete waste of pixels since it does nothing. The fact that Climber was originally a Game & Watch game makes the screen scrolling really awkward. It looks like you're just being warped back to the bottom of the mountain. These enemies look like walking hot dogs. Also, thanks for reminding me that Ice Climber is a more fun game than this. Stop things from falling on something, minigame 7. The limitations make this guy look like an owl. This guy forgot to light the bombs. This isn't even the cause of the limitations like the other classic Game & Watch games, because you can clearly see fire on the screen. Also, these bombs fall as fast as, well, what do you think? Is no one looking out these windows and seeing what's going on? And these bombs that are clearly not lit somehow blew up the safe. Stop something from falling in is something minigame 8. This game is pretty much Parachute except with a ship instead of a helicopter. They have some strange jumping powers. This shark doesn't try to attack the boat. I thought it was disturbing in the Parachute game, but seeing the sharks actually drag someone into the water? Because, you know, for kids. It's nice to see Zelda in this game, but is it really worth all the pain and suffering you have to get all the required stars to get? Especially since playing an actual Zelda game is much more fun. Also, like in all Zelda games, it's called Zelda instead of Link for some reason. The way Link swings his arms around like this makes him look dumb. This game would go nice with the main Zelda theme in here somewhere. I see that they now gave us a code to see the staff credits, but I think it would be more efficient to just have a new area in the gallery that lets you see them. It takes until a staff credits to even see Wario's name. This credit scene looks awesome, but I'm still not tempted to get every star to unlock it, since I can just watch this video on the internet. Alright, so let's see. There are 20 minigames total. Each one of them has a very hard mode except for the 2 multiplayer modes, Boxing, Donkey Kong 3, and the 9 museum games. So 20 minus 2 minus 9 equals 9. There's both a very hard mode for Modern and Classic, and you normally get 5 stars total for each mode. but you don't get any stars for very hard. 5 times 9 equals 45. Multiply that by 2 for classic and modern, and you get 90. Next, we have the museum games, which again, you get nothing from. There are 9 museum games, and there is an easy and hard mode in the museums, so that gives us another 5 times 9 times 2, which I already told you is 90. 90 plus 90 equals 180, so that gives us 180 additional sins. Now all we have to do is add that to the sin count, and we have our final score.